all, I want to say thank you to everybody that's coming out in support of us doing better as a country, us doing better as a nation. I appreciate the kind words from P. Ray. I appreciate the love that I get when I come here. But I want everybody to understand, first and foremost, all glory goes to God.
Yes.
That's first and foremost. And then on top of that, I don't want to set the stage at all that anything that I have been doing in City Hall is me by myself. It's quite a few of us that are always down there. Zoe Lee is always down there. Michael Young Bay is always down there. Of course, we know George Blakemore, Nicole, Michael Young Bay. Okay, just like I don't do social media, I don't do none of this junk. Okay, perfect. So we've all been working very hard to get us to where the city is listening to what we're saying, and praise God, it has taken toll across the country. And I want Chicago to know that I'm so proud of Chicago. We're doing a major work here. And the reason why I say that, real briefly before I get to the topic that you want me to be on for the 47. I lived in California. I was born and raised in Chicago. And after college, I went to California. And I lived in California for 35 years. I came back to Chicago because of what you hear me talk about, the problems with my mother's estate, how Cook County and the city of Chicago straight up are stealing black people's property. I want you all to get that through your head, through your psyche, what they're doing to our property. And that's what brought me back here. But in California, immigration started back there years ago in the 90s. And it came with such a force that it took over California.
That's right.
And there was no pushback from Californians.
Right.
None. They were saying, well, you know, Mexico did used to belong to the Mexicans. California did used to belong to the Mexicans. And there was absolutely no pushback. Just like you saw when immigration was coming into New York. There was no pushback because New York has always had a heavy African immigration population there. So it was no pushback. But when they brought that nonsense to Chicago, come on. When they brought that nonsense to Chicago, and when they brought it to the South Side, they came over to Jeanette Taylor's Floyd first. And those people warned Lori Lightfoot at that point that if she allowed those immigrants to come into that Wentworth school, that she was not going to get back in office. And we saw the people in that community hold true to that, and she didn't get back in office. Then they came to South Shore with South Shore High School. And that's when you saw that South Shore group, Natasha Dunn, and that group start fighting back. And then it took a wider range. When I started coming because of my property, Zoe Lee started coming because of her mother's property, and the result is what you see today. Chicago, we setting it off. We set it off. We set it off. We let America know how we going to be treated. We stopped them in their tracks. We let the Democratic Party understand that their time was up with the nonsense. We let the Democratic Party understand that we tired of the empty lots. We tired of the abandoned buildings. We are tired of the underserved schools. We tired of our kids not having what they should have. And I understand the issue with choice schools. I get it, but I also know this. Our children deserve to have good education in their communities. They shouldn't have to go across town to get no decent education. If they would keep all this low-income housing out of our communities and let us own property in peace. The property taxes is what channels the resources for a local school. If we have more property ownership in our communities, then we will have more resources in our schools. But the trick that the Democratic Party is doing, pushing this poverty down our throats about low-income housing, subsidized housing, affordable housing, all these things are intended to keep us poor. And in keeping us poor, it keeps our schools undeserved. And when we have our schools undeserved, next thing you know, we're generating another generation of ignorance. We know better. We know better. And we need to do better. So I just want to thank Chicago for being Chicago. It's not me. You all made the ground very fertile before I even got here with the work that was being put in from this city, from the people in this town. So I came into fertile soil. So I want to thank you all for that. Now, as it pertains to the agenda portion that I'm supposed to be talking on, where I think it's number 14, where we're talking about Social Security and Medicare. The Democrats are trying to make us believe that it's the Trump administration that wants to cut Social Security and Medicare. That's not true. In fact, his agenda is saying that there should be no taxes on Social Security. There should be no taxes on senior citizens' monies that they get every month. Now, the reason why they're able to spend that and to scare people with that is because typically Social Security is for people that are senior citizens. And we all know that black people, the age of 60 and older, have always been dedicated to the Democratic Party, and rightfully so for that period of time. For that period of time. But now it's not like that. And so if they can sell that narrative to the older generation, that he's going to mess with your Social Security, he's going to mess with your Medicare, it'll have you off and running to that poll. When the reality is, no, he's not. And we have to be very careful with that because our children are working. And on their paychecks, it still has the deduction for FICA, F-I-C-A, which is your Social Security. So they're steadily taking money out of our checks for Social Security and Medicare. But yet they want to tell us that it won't be any money for Social Security when our kids are able to get it. Right now, vote them out of office. Right now, vote them out of office. They're going to say that they don't have money to give us Social Security after we paid into it, like they didn't have money from FEMA to give to the people down south who had that tornado and that hurricane. They don't have money for those people after those people have paid into taxes for years, because clearly they're Americans. And FEMA doesn't have money for them, and now they want to spend that for Social Security. It's not no money for Social Security after we paid into this for all these years. Don't believe the hype. Get them out of office. Turn Chicago red. Turn the United States red. We don't have to deal with this. We got more than one political party. We don't have to deal with this. Send Kamala Harris back to wherever she is. You just heard that Indian lady say that they don't want her in her community. Well, you don't get to put your rejects over here in ours. Send her back to wherever she came from. Let her rule wherever she at. But she don't get to come over here. It's a pseudo-black woman and run for office, because the only reason why they did that is because they knew that on her own, as an Indian woman candidate, she would have been just like she was in the primary. Didn't get not one vote. She would have did just like what they needed to do, to cheat her, to get her to be a nomination. Because on her own, she couldn't do it. So they threw the black card on her. Knowing that black people, and particularly black women, will go running after that pipe dream.
Right. That's right.
We know better than that. We know black when we see it, and we don't care who try to say that she is, because she's not.
Right.
And the only reason why they gave it to us, because they're protecting Gavin Newsom's career.
That's right.
And J.B. Pritzker's career.
Right.
Because those were the Democrats that could have had a chance, but Trump would have stumped them out too.
That's right.
So they put them to the side and threw Kamala Harris out front, put a fake black tag on her so that she could get some votes. But it's not going to work, and it's not good enough. We want Trump in the White House.
Yes.
We want a real president.
Yes.
We want the people's president.
Yes.
We want somebody that's going to make a change. We want somebody who's going to put America first.
Yes.
He's putting America first. This is our country. This is our country. This is our country.
Yes.
It doesn't belong to anybody else.
Yes.
People put work in to make this. White people did what they did to get this. No offense, but it's true.
Yes.
Black people survived how we had to survive to stay here.
Right.
This is our country.
Yes.
And it's a beautiful thing. Just like you saying, the South Side and the West Side come together for the first time in history.
Yes.
It's the first time in history that you seeing black and white come together like this, because it's about America. And we understand that.
Yes.
So God bless y'all. God bless America. God bless Chicago. And we getting ready to go do our podcast for 6 o'clock.
Yes.
Tune in.
Yes. Yes.